Officer, and thank you for allowing an additional speaker today. Presiding Officer, I've spent many years helping organisations to improve inclusion in the workplace. It's part of my DNA. I've made sure that in my job that everyone, whether they're female, male, gay, transitioning or with a disability, is physically and psychologically safe at work. As an HR director and now as a legislator, the safety of others is my priority. But in recent months, I've been inundated with emails from people who aren't just sceptical about these plans, they're deeply, deeply worried. They know this legislation isn't just simply the process to get a piece of paper. They know this bill makes it easier for people to legally change their sex and that it opens the door to single-sex spaces to an undefined group of people. Women and girls aren't victims, but they are victimised. This isn't about a competition of rights. It's about creating the right conditions for the coexistence of those rights. This bill simply does not do that. We've been told by the SNP that there's no need to press pause on the bill and examine the implications of a major intervention by the UN Special Rapporteur on violence against women and girls, or last week's court ruling on the definition of a woman. Scrutiny and debate only matter to the SNP when it suits them. It's shameful. The sad truth, Presiding Officer, is that the passage of this bill has shattered my confidence in our democratic institutions. Women's organisations were an afterthought prior to the introduction of the bill. Every party, save the Scottish Conservatives, is whipping the vote. At stage 1 and this week, a handful of SNP MSPs broke ranks, and they should be applauded for doing so. It was a much-needed departure from the authoritarian ideologues who preside over this SNP Green government. But to those MSPs on the Labour and SNP benches who fear the reproaches from their party whips or their careers more than the repercussions of this bill for women and girls, there is still time to choose courage over cowardice. Collectivism should not trump your conscience. My amendments yesterday would have at least placed a duty on ministers to report on the bill's impact on women and girls who risk being collateral damage in the SNP Green government's single-minded pursuit of self-ID. Something else is happening. An insidious creep which started with women being branded as bigots and transphobes for raising concerns over their rights and safety. And a few weeks ago, women wearing suffragette scarves were told to remove them or leave the Parliamentary Committee scrutinising this legislation in Scotland's own seat of democracy. Presiding Officer, last week, women were prevented from assembling in an academic institution to discuss the issues arising in the documentary Adult Human Female. Their right to freedom of speech not just curtailed, but cut off completely. On Tuesday night, law-abiding women were threatened with arrest as they observed the proceedings from the Scottish Parliament's public gallery. Presiding Officer, it won't end there. As the parliamentary passage of this bill reaches its conclusion, I still believe the intent behind the bill was good. But it remains the case for me that the unintended consequence for women, for girls and for young people will be far greater, from the age of application, to access to single-sex spaces, to safeguards against sex offenders exploiting the system. There are still massive question marks over the safety of the operation of this bill. And for these reasons, I cannot support it at decision time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms White.